Now we're back to what Sunday No Huddle was like on the field back at Indiana. We bring it up so many times here in the Sunday No Huddle. He's Robert Rosenthal from IlliniBoard.com. I'm Andy Olson. Not a great game for the Illini in the 23-15 loss to Michigan State, snapping a 6-game win streak. Robert, let's just start with your opening thoughts on what the game was. Just too many miscues, it seemed like, for the Illini.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that sticks out to me is that, everybody was talking about Daniel Barker, the former Illini, coming in. It was a different former Illini who was pinning punts at the 8 and the 1 who was the difference in this game. When you have a wind game like this, field position is everything. And, Michigan State was able to make Illinois go a long way to get to the end zone. And, the story of the game for me could come down to that one drive that started at the 1. Illinois gets 80 yards on a drive. You start anywhere else on the field, that's a touchdown drive. You get 80 yards, you get to the 20, the wind's blowing too strong, you can't kick it. And I guess they were at the 19, they tried again, they tried on 4th down, didn't get it, and that's that. When you get 80-yard drives and you don't get any points, you're going to lose a football game, and that's what happened.
Is there anything you think that Illinois can take out of this game? Because I think in the following weeks after the Indiana game, it was almost like a kick in the butt a little bit for the Illini. Now, if you're going to lose one of your last 4 games, not the worst one to lose, but what do you think that Illinois may be able to take out of this moving forward?
I think the biggest thing, and there's a lot of talk about special teams. I think the biggest thing right now is getting points from your yards. We even saw it in the Minnesota game. They got, they got inside the 10 and would settle for field goals. And there were so many drives that even Indiana, just think of how many times Illinois has been at the 2 and either coming away with 3 points from a field goal or no points at all because they go for it on 4th down. That's the issue. You can't go 50, 60, 70, 80 yards and get no points at the end of that. That's the whole point. And so capitalizing on these drives is going to be the entire key. And, this was the game that shone a spotlight exactly on that you have to put up either 3 or 7 at the end of every one of these drives.
Illinois has been in the red zone 40 times this season. 30 times they've converted for points, field goal, touchdown. Only 16 times this season it has been that 6 points, that touchdown. We know Brett Bielema loves to take these things and motivate his team, whether it be the bowling ball ahead of their 6th win or whatever else it may be. Do you think this coaching staff, not that they're happy to lose, but is happy to have a motivating factor to show these guys you're not invincible?
Yeah, I mean, this takes away a lot of the, I don't know, we'll call it crazy talk. I mean, you and I are standing here sometimes saying, it's November and they control their destiny for the playoff and all this stuff. This takes away all that craziness and focuses it back on, look, Big Ten West is still there. You're still able to go 6-0 in the division, which would be really strange to go 6-0 against the Big Ten West teams and go 0-3 if they were to lose to Michigan, to the Big Ten East teams. But the West is still there to be had. That there's still the opportunity to go to Indianapolis to play either Michigan or Ohio State, and that's the goal. The focus is, going away from where's the ranking in the CFP poll and all that, and focuses back in on win this division.
Yeah, and Chase Brown had another good game today. It was one of his fumbles, though, that ended a drive where you mentioned that they were driving down the field, a lot of yards, no points. Brown still leading the nation in rushing. It seems like on offense, almost nothing went wrong. Tommy DeVito had a really good day, was spreading the ball around. What is it going to take, do you think, just from watching this team, to finish those drives? Because you mentioned they need to. Now the question is how.
Yeah, I think, some of it's going to have to come from maybe get a little more creative play calling when the field shortens. There's always this debate. This is a risk-averse coaching staff. We saw the devastation from look at the Iowa game where they throw a pick at the 1-yard line. They seem to, in my estimation, when it gets close to the end zone, like, okay, 3 is okay here. Let's not throw a pick in the end zone. Let's not take any risk. Let's not try that quick slant. Let's not do anything that could, crazy deflection ends up in a safety's hands. We're now almost there, and let's not do anything crazy. This is what's popping into my head. I equate it to if I'm on a long road trip and say I'm averaging, maybe 12 miles over the speed limit.
Yeah.
When I get about 20 miles from my destination, I have this thought of, you know what? If I get a speeding ticket now, it ruins all of all the progress I made by going 12 over the speed limit. So I'll slow down to 8 over, or 6 over, maybe 4 over, because it's really close, and I made up all the time I wanted to make up, but I could throw it away getting pulled over here. I feel like that's kind of what's been happening. As they get close to the end zone, it's like, let's not turn it over, and maybe they need to risk a little more for that reward.
23 points allowed by the Illinois defense is tied for the most that they've allowed all season with that Indiana game over in Bloomington. What did you make of that matchup? Illinois defense, Michigan State offense. In my mind, I think Sparty was probably the best offense that defense has seen all season.
Mm-hmm. I think it was interesting that Ryan Walters got up on Monday at the press conference and said, this is the best wide receivers. These will be the best wide receivers we face this year. And this might be the best offensive line. There were even some Michigan State media that took that and said, this guy hasn't watched much Michigan State football if he thinks this offensive line is good. And then we kind of saw that. They couldn't get to Peyton Thorne. They couldn't, the pressure that had been there wasn't, and the passes with this really good receiving core were being connected. And then that opened up the running game because they had to switch some things up. So, I think Ryan Walters kind of nailed it that, look, these guys have played a tough schedule, and they're a little better than we think. And this is a pretty good offensive line who can keep their quarterback clean. And that's what we saw. And so interesting. We should probably pay a little more attention when these coaches are talking on Monday because they do know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and, even if this was a moderate, average offense, I still think the defense played well enough to win, to keep Illinois in this game. And they had that chance to win all the way up until that last possession when they had the ball with 68 seconds left. You just run out of time at the end. Was the way that the defense played a positive moving forward, or is it maybe they're not the best defense that's ever graced the grass at Memorial Stadium?
I mean, again, you're still holding somebody under 300 yards.
Yeah.
So you're still, they are still able to pull off what was unimaginable. I mean, my brain goes to the Maryland game in 2018 where it felt like Maryland could have had 900 yards. Like it was just, there was nothing stopping the Maryland offense that day. So compare that to this performance. This is 50 times better than that performance. This was, Michigan State capitalizing those 2 times. Great. I mean, let's give it up to their quarterback. That time he had, I forget who was about to sack him in his face, and he throws a dart into the wind to his top receiver in the back corner of the end zone. You tip your cap at that kind of play. They made the plays when they had to make the plays, and that's what you wanted to see from Illinois. You're 25, 30 yards outside the end zone, take that shot to the corner with your receiver, and see if you can get a scoring strike, because that's how Michigan State won the game.
Yeah, and this started out a little shaky for Thorne in this one, with the very first play from scrimmage being an interception for Sidney Brown, so he did a really good job of responding in this one. As we look ahead with the schedule, 3 games remaining, Purdue at home, at Michigan, at Northwestern. They can't clinch next week against the Boilermakers now, but in my mind, I still think of them as in the driver's seat to win the division.
Definitely. And, it's just it's so crystal clear at this point. Like I said earlier, go 6-0 in the division, and you've beaten every team in the division, and you go to Indy. They should be able to beat Northwestern, although Northwestern's defense really turned it up. Again, another wind game. They really turned it up against Ohio State and held them to only 21. But, it's still all right in front of them because of that Purdue loss at Iowa. Beat Purdue, beat Northwestern, and then whatever happens in the Michigan game is somewhat irrelevant. Or, win the last 3, shock Michigan, do something that alters the playoff landscape, and, really have a great season. Look, 7 wins, guaranteeing that winning season is really, really good. It's way beyond any expectations, and you've kind of met that, and everything in the rest of the season is gravy. You have your first gravy game and you lose to a team you were favored by 17. That's not the best, but now it's all still right in front of them to win that division. All
right, let's play a fun game. Let's bang through some of these situations that could end the year.
Okay.
How they go these last 3 games. Let's say they go 0-3, 7-5. What is your reaction if that was the case?
My reaction is I mean, look, I declared on the website a month ago that if they get to 7 wins, everything beyond that is gravy. So I will be the guy screaming 7-5, although disappointing when we were dreaming of 10 wins, is still a step forward for the program and a decent bowl and something forward. So I'm still in gravy land, right? You know, like I said, get to 7 wins, and in a season where Vegas had you at 4.5, and you're there. You've done something very significant. Wins over Wisconsin and Minnesota and Iowa. Get to that, and you're there. So while it would feel like 2019 when they lost their last 3 after, surprising everyone with the win at Michigan State, I'm still baseline with that one.
All right, and now moving up the chain, 1 and 2, they win either against Purdue, against Northwestern, finish the season 8-4.
Okay, I've been unwilling to talk about this, but I will share this. So I have been tracking a stat. I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud. I've been tracking a stat for more than 10 years.
Okay.
And just for the Illinois fan base. And what I did is I wrote an article in like 2010, something like that. And I said, look, it's just been a long time since Illinois fans have had a plus season to cheer about. This included basketball and football. I guess I maybe wrote it in like 2013 or so, when the basketball team Weber was fired, and we were wondering what it would be. And so I drew this line and I did some research, and I said, okay, for me, a plus season, a season a fan base feels really, really good about, is a Sweet 16 team for basketball and an 8 regular season wins for football. You get to 8 regular season wins, you're going to a good bowl, you're flirting with the rankings, you've had a season. You've had that. And for basketball, it's all about the Sweet 16. You get to that second weekend, that's a successful season. I have hated myself for drawing those 2 lines for the last 10 years, because every year I have to write the article saying, this fan base still, I had to write it after the Loyola loss. Mm-hmm. I had to say, I didn't mean it when I drew this line, but we still haven't crossed it. And so for a while, there were only 3 teams, Wake Forest, Colorado, and Illinois, 3 FBS Power 5 conference teams that had achieved neither. Then Colorado gets a 10-2 football season like 2016, and then it's just Wake Forest and Illinois. And then Wake Forest has had several 8-win, 9-win, 10-win football seasons since then. So now it's just Illinois. Since I started tracking this stat, Illinois is the only fan base that has not been able to say, there's my season, that was a great year, 8-win football season or Sweet 16. And now it's right there, right?
It is.
One more win, and I can finally put it to bed. I've been waiting. I thought I would put it to bed Loyola. I thought I would put it to bed Houston basketball. I thought it was going to bed, and it's still hanging out there, and I just need one more win. So that is all I think about when you say 8 wins.
All right, and now keeping it a step further, 2-1. To me, this seems like the most likely scenario at 9-3.
And that's 9-3 to me. Just the trip to the Big Ten championship game. That's you recruit to that. Mm-hmm. That is, you can legitimately do something special. You can say, look, this is not just we had a good season. This program's going somewhere, and you need to hop on board. I don't know why you'd consider, let's say Iowa goes 7-5. Why would you consider Iowa? This is the team on the rise in the Big Ten West. Pay attention to Illinois. So 9 wins is a make everybody pay attention kind of season.
Do I even need your reaction for what a 3-0 end of the year and a 10-2 season would be?
That's where I faint and I fall over. I have no words, and I'm just, I picture myself. The first thought in my head is I remember the players on the court after the basketball team clinched the Big Ten title, doing their snow angels in the confetti. That's where I go in my head, is snow angels if Illinois were to somehow go 10-2.
Well, it is on the table still, even after this second loss to the year. We joked last week about how it was feeling the same. Illinois somehow coming out with a win. It is a loss this time around, but it's certainly far from a season-ending loss in this one, Robert.
Definitely.
And still so much to grow from, and still a lot to talk about these last 3 games.
Still so much on the table for this season. And that's what, winning 7 of your first 8, that's what everything is still right there on the table.
Yeah. All right. That was the Sunday No Huddle. Robert, thanks so much. We will do it again. How about next week?
Yeah, let's do it again. How about that we do it after a win?
That would be a lot of fun. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks.